With nearly 70% of its land classified as arid or semi-arid, while holding just over 1% of the world's freshwater resources, Australia was once considered a land that challenges the limits of agriculture, where farmers constantly face extreme environmental risks. Yet despite these harsh conditions, the country still generates nearly $100 billion annually from agriculture, turning hardship into value and disadvantages into productivity. So what has enabled a nation born under scorching heat to build an agricultural system capable of competing directly with major producers like the United States, Canada, Brazil, and New Zealand? In this video, Agriculture Insight will take you deep into Australia's agricultural industry, where harsh nature has pushed people to develop a large-scale, highly mechanized, and world-class modern farming system. Generating more than $3 billion annually, eucalyptus is also considered one of the key factors that turned the 2019-2020 Black Summer into one of the most devastating wildfire seasons in history, causing an estimated $103 billion in damages. Eucalyptus is Australia's greatest paradox, a tree that supports millions of livelihoods while also acting like biological fuel, helping create some of the most intense firestorms on Earth due to the highly flammable oils contained in its leaves. Although nearly 80% of Australia's eucalyptus forests are natural, the country still has to plant millions of seedlings every year to sustain its massive forestry industry. Between May and July, nurseries become filled with young eucalyptus sprouts, and after around 10 years, the trees can grow taller than 30 meters. Large enough to enter the industrial timber harvesting cycle. First, the harvesting machines move deep into industrial forests, equipped with hydraulic cutting heads that operate like miniature mobile factories. Unlike many tree species with curved trunks or complex branching canopies, Australia's eucalyptus trees grow almost perfectly straight, making them far easier to harvest. Within seconds, two steel gripping arms clamp tightly around the trunk with a force of roughly 50 kilonewtons, equivalent to the pressure of several tons of weight, keeping the tree stable while a chainsaw blade cuts cleanly through the base. Immediately afterward, steel-toothed feed rollers generate a powerful pulling force, dragging the trunk through a set of delimbing knives at speeds of up to 5 meters per second, stripping away branches and leaves almost entirely in a single continuous pass. Afterward, the long logs are lifted and stacked onto massive trucks by specialized loaders for transport out of the harvesting sites. In some rugged and hard-to-reach areas, heavy-lift helicopters are even used to airlift timber directly out of the forest. Eventually, the eucalyptus logs arrive at processing plants, where hundreds of tons of wood are sawed, milled, and pressed every day into a wide range of products, from pallets, furniture, paper, and engineered wood panels to even pencils. Thanks to its rapid growth, straight trunk structure, and ease of processing, eucalyptus has become one of the world's most widely used industrial raw materials, quietly surrounding people in everyday life without most even realizing it. Often described as an agricultural national treasure of Australia, mangoes have turned the country's scorching sun, dry soils, and harsh climate into a true goldmine, generating more than $600 million annually and becoming a premium delicacy sought after from Japan to the Middle East. To discover how this happens, we head to the Northern Territory, one of Australia's largest mango-growing regions in the north. Each April, as mangoes begin turning golden beneath the intense heat of the top end, the bustling harvest season officially begins. For shorter trees, workers harvest entirely by hand, gently twisting and lifting each mango to avoid bruising the soft flesh inside. When the fruit hangs out of reach, hydraulic lift platforms raise workers up to 5 to 6 meters high to access the dense canopies. importantly, every mango must retain a short piece of stem to prevent sap from leaking out and damaging the skin or spreading onto nearby fruit. This sap can even cause skin irritation upon direct contact. As a result, almost immediately after being picked, each mango is quickly rinsed with a gentle stream of water before moving straight into a high-speed cleaning station. From the scorching mango orchards, the journey then continues into modern processing facilities, where the fruit is sorted, treated, and transformed into premium export products, freeze-dried mangoes, and many other high-value goods destined for global markets. Leaving behind the tropical mango orchards, we now head to Australia's avocado farms, where more than 115,000 tons of avocados are produced each year, turning this fruit into one of the rising stars of the country's agricultural industry. Unlike many mass-market avocados sold in the United States, which tend to soften quickly after long-distance transport, Australian avocados are highly valued for their thick flesh, high oil content, and rich, creamy texture. Here, avocado pickers do not focus on speed or quantity, but instead harvest with strict selection standards. Only fruits that have matured for 8 to 12 months, developed a glossy skin, maintained a firm structure, and show no signs of damage are kept. To reach the towering canopies, workers use long poles fitted with sharp cutting blades, combined with sturdy lifting platforms to access even the most difficult spots. Each avocado is carefully caught the moment it leaves the branch and gently placed into chest-mounted picking bags to prevent bruising the delicate flesh inside, before being neatly stacked beneath the rows of trees. At the processing plant, thousands of freshly delivered avocados are immediately fed into automated conveyor systems and moved into the cleaning section. After being washed with high-pressure spray nozzles and food-grade recirculating water tanks, they are further processed, peeled, and frozen to become frozen avocado products, or blended into the globally famous guacamole, winning over international markets with its rich, creamy texture and nutrient-packed flavor. Nicknamed the world's hardest nut to crack, macadamia creates one of the most fascinating contradictions in Australian agriculture. A shell almost as hard as stone on the outside, yet a rich, buttery kernel inside so valuable that the industry generates more than $300 million in export revenue each year. Few people realize that Australia is the only natural homeland of the macadamia tree, before the nut became a luxury product sought after from the United States and China to South Africa. Even today, the country remains one of the world's largest centers for premium macadamia production. Between March and June each year, as harvest season begins, macadamias are not picked directly from the trees like many other nuts. Instead, growers wait for the nuts to naturally fall to the ground once they reach perfect ripeness. Soon after, sweeping machines equipped with continuously rotating rubber brush rollers gently comb thousands of macadamias into the center rows, while causing almost no disturbance to the soil surface beneath. Next, collection machines move in, using roller systems and conveyor belts to gather entire strips of macadamias spread beneath the tree rows within just minutes. Immediately after leaving the orchard floor, tons of macadamias are loaded onto large trucks, passed through screening systems, and transported straight to processing facilities. Here, streams of macadamias are poured into enormous receiving pits before being carried throughout the factory by automated conveyor systems. After sorting, the nuts are transferred into controlled drying silos. This process can take anywhere from 7 to 10 days, because if the nuts are dried too quickly, the rich kernels inside can crack and burst apart like popcorn. But not everyone has the patience to conquer the rock-hard shell of a macadamia, and that is exactly why pre-shelled macadamias became so popular. To achieve this, each nut passes through industrial shelling systems, where metal compression rollers apply just enough pressure to crack the shell open while keeping the delicate kernel inside almost perfectly intact. Finally, the macadamias undergo manual inspection, packaging, and distribution to markets all around the world. At the next stop on our journey, we head to Western Australia, the oat capital of the country, where the industry generates more than $500 million annually, approaching the scale of the U.S. oat market at around $542 million, and outperforming competitors such as China and India. Across these vast, endless fields, harvest season only truly begins when the oats shift from pale green to straw gold, and the grain moisture drops to the ideal level of around 15%. That is when gigantic combine harvesters roll into the fields. Their front cutting headers are lowered just enough to gather the thin, lightweight oat stalks before feeding them into the threshing chamber, where the grains are separated from husks, straw, and dust within seconds. After harvest, the oats are transported to modern processing facilities in Forestfield, Western Australia, where the grains that have just left the fields immediately enter a fully integrated production line. Here they pass through vibrating screens, air blowers, and metal separation systems to remove any remaining straw, dust, stones, and impurities left behind after harvesting. Next, the oats are dried and heat steamed to stabilize moisture levels, preserve their natural aroma, and prevent enzymes from causing rancidity. The tough outer husk is then removed, while the inner oat groats are rolled flat, chopped, or finely milled. From this point, the raw grain is rapidly transformed into granola, oatmeal cookies, and health-focused breakfast cereals, widely known for supporting heart health and helping reduce cholesterol. Home to some of the world's most intensely aromatic hop varieties, Australia has become a key supplier for famous breweries such as Brewdog and Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, generating more than $100 million in annual revenue. Many people assume the flavor and aroma of beer come mainly from barley, but in reality, the true soul of beer lies within the tiny hop cones packed with highly volatile essential oils. Between February and April each year in Australia, as harvest season begins, gigantic machines move into hop fields where the climbing vines can reach heights of up to 6 meters. Using powerful hook systems, the machines rip entire hop plants off their steel trellises within seconds. The flower-laden vines are then pulled onto conveyor belts like a massive, green waterfall before rushing into high-speed hop separation machines. Inside, rotating drums, brushes, and powerful air systems work continuously to strip thousands of delicate hop cones from the vines without rupturing the tiny oil glands inside, the very part responsible for the intense aroma prized by brewers around the world. After harvest, the 6 to 8 meter long hop vines are transported to processing facilities, where millions of fresh green hop cones are rapidly separated from the stems. Soon after, the hops are dried for 8 to 12 hours to lock in the precious essential oils and aromatic compounds contained within each cone. Finally, the hops are compressed into massive bales before being shipped to breweries, ready to blend with malt and yeast to create the beverage that has captivated the world for thousands of years. With more than 24,000 farms spread across the southeast and southwest, Australia does not merely raise sheep, it operates a vast natural fiber empire. Unlike the sun-scorched north, these temperate and dry regions provide the essential conditions needed to protect precious merino wool from moisture and mold. On extensive grazing farms, each sheep functions like a resilient fiber factory. At around 6 to 8 months of age, sheep undergo their first shearing, a milestone marking maturity. From then on, the fleece is harvested once a year, using specialized electric clippers. With skilled technique, an experienced shearer can handle more than 200 sheep per day, removing up to 5 kilograms of premium wool from each animal without harming the skin. If a minor cut occurs, a special antiseptic powder is immediately applied to stop bleeding and protect the animal on the spot, ensuring the process remains humane and safe. The wool is then baled and becomes a strategic raw material for high-end textile mills in Italy and Japan. After washing and carding, it is transformed into ultrafine fabrics that are breathable and capable of naturally regulating temperature according to the wearer's body heat. While synthetic fibers can take decades to decompose, merino wool can break down into the soil and become fertilizer in just 12 months. This regenerative property makes Australian wool a top choice for sustainability commitments. Partnerships with brands like Smart Wool and Allbirds are not only about quality, but also a statement of Australia's position as the country that holds up to 80% of global fine wool production. Leaving behind the livestock empires, we move on to the million-dollar fields, a sector that occupies less than 5% of the land, yet generates more than half of Australia's agricultural revenue, officially overtaking livestock to become the country's largest money-making engine. From February to April each year, as temperatures in the Murray-Darling Basin begin to ease, almond hulls naturally split open, signaling perfect physiological maturity. To win the gamble against weather, where a sudden summer rain can trigger mold or prolonged heat can crack the kernels, the entire process has been fully mechanized to eliminate every element of chance. It all begins with self-propelled shakers. A single hydraulic clamp and a few seconds of high-frequency vibration are enough to detach ripe almonds from the trees, dropping them onto leveled ground to dry naturally. The region's harsh sun and wind reduce kernel moisture from around 25% to below the 6% standard within roughly 10 days. Once optimal dryness is reached, sweepers and harvesters move along the rows, using powerful airflows to lift the almonds while keeping their protective shells intact. The smart part lies in the system's integrated centrifugal filters, which remove twigs, debris, and stones directly in the field, ensuring maximum purity for an annual output exceeding 100,000 tons. Strict control of this golden window allows almonds to be processed and packaged within just 24 hours of harvest, a key factor in preserving natural crunchiness and minimizing the risk of moisture or discoloration. Few realize that Australia harvests almonds counter-season to the Northern Hemisphere. When stockpiles in California, the world's largest almond hub, begin to age after months in storage, the market is instead supplied with freshly harvested Australian almonds. This seasonal advantage allows Australian almonds to compete on freshness and natural flavor, rather than scale alone. When it comes to wine grapes, many people immediately think of France. Yet in Australia, fruit powers an industrial engine just as formidable, with more than 2,000 wineries distributing over 1 billion liters of wine each year. Australia has firmly held a top 5 global position for decades. Most Australian vineyards are located in hot, dry climates with high solar radiation, conditions that challenge many European grape varieties, but instead favor the 2 pillars of Australian wine. Most notable is Shiraz, a thick-skinned, heat-tolerant grape that accumulates high levels of phenolic compounds, producing bold and full-bodied red wines. Alongside it stands Chardonnay, the backbone of Australian white wine, valued for its high adaptability, solid structure, and resistance to being overpowered by oak. During harvest season, New Holland broad machines rated at 175 horsepower become the workhorses of large vineyards. Their high-clearance chassis allows stable movement between vine rows, while high-frequency shaking units precisely detach ripe grapes without damaging the skins. Immediately behind, variable pressure fans continuously blow away leaves, stems, and debris in a single pass. Each machine can process more than 20 tons of grapes per hour, equivalent to the output of roughly 40 manual workers operating continuously. To manage temperature challenges in hot regions such as Barossa or Riverland, night harvesting is mandatory. The cooler pre-dawn temperatures help lock in grape condition, prevent oxidation and premature fermentation, and preserve natural acidity. This is a critical technical factor in maintaining freshness in wines from hot climates, something traditional methods struggle to achieve at scale. For old vine vineyards, hand harvesting is selectively maintained. Skilled workers carefully cut each cluster to preserve the natural bloom and aromatic depth required for the highest tier wines. This strategy creates a clear economic distinction. While French wines often rely on rarity and vintage variation to command prices of thousands of dollars, Australia leverages modern production systems to deliver consistent quality in the USD $20 to $50 range, a practical price point for wines that are bold, varietally expressive, and clearly reflective of their regional character. Leaving behind the lush vineyard valleys, we head north to Australia, where the cotton industry operates like a ruthless factory, exporting more than 600,000 tons of finished product and generating USD $2 billion in revenue each year. Here, the role of human labor during harvest season has been completely replaced by massive machines. These are not merely harvesters, but mobile operating complexes. Rotating spindle systems, fitted with ultrafine steel barbs, penetrate each cotton plant to pluck the fluffy white fibers with absolute precision, removing impurities directly from the branches. As soon as the storage chamber is full, an integrated hydraulic compression system automatically forms the cotton into round modules weighing over 2 tons, wrapped in specialized plastic film to preserve moisture balance and fiber purity against all weather conditions. From this point, these giant cotton modules must be transported to processing facilities within a critical 24-hour window to prevent deterioration caused by residual moisture, ensuring the fibers remain in optimal condition before entering the ginning stage. At the mill, high-speed saw systems and powerful airflows carry out seed separation, fiber opening, and fine dust filtration. This process transforms rough fiber masses into raw material with uniform length and exceptional whiteness, up to 50% more durable than synthetic fibers and 20% more absorbent, making it the gold standard for luxury fashion brands. In Australia's vast grain belt, where annual rainfall can sometimes fall below 300 millimeters, wheat stands as a marvel of both biology and engineering. The varieties grown here are specially bred to become super warriors, with exceptionally deep root systems that extract every last drop of water from the parched soil in order to survive and mature. When harvest season arrives, stretching from August through January of the following year, the harsh heat is transformed into a strategic advantage. Wheat dries naturally right in the field, reaching an ideal moisture level of below 12% without the need for costly industrial drying. This is precisely the privilege that allows Australian wheat to maintain some of the most competitive pricing on the global market. Across the endless golden fields, fleets of combine harvesters line up like a modern mechanical army. Each machine functions as a real-time analytical center, harvesting while simultaneously using sensors to measure protein content and instantly classify grain quality in real time. The key lies in seamless, uninterrupted coordination. Thanks to high-precision GPS positioning systems, harvesters automatically navigate the fields and unload grain into tanker trucks while still in motion, maintaining 24/7 operations in a race against time before incoming storms can degrade grain quality. However, the contest with nature is not always favorable. In recent years, scattered late-season rainfall across eastern and southern Australia has downgraded part of the harvest, forcing a shift from premium milling wheat to livestock feed. Even so, through early harvest strategies and rapid mechanization, overall output has remained above the 10-year average. In the end, this is not merely a story of export revenues, but a testament to an agricultural system capable of turning harsh conditions into sustainable profit. What do you think of when rabbits are mentioned? A gentle, small, and incredibly cute animal? But if you set foot in Australia, you will have to think again. In this country, more than 200 million wild rabbits are considered one of the most dangerous ecological invaders in history, second only to feral cats in terms of destruction. Every year, they cause more than $200 million in damage, devastate millions of square kilometers of grasslands and crops, and push entire native ecosystems into a fierce battle for survival. And for more than 150 years, Australians have done everything they can to eliminate them. From hunting, poisoning, and building fences thousands of kilometers long to releasing biological viruses. But even today, that war still has not ended. To understand why such a small animal could cause such enormous consequences, the answer begins with an event in the past that seemed harmless. One of the most terrifying ecological disasters on Earth did not come from a great flood or nuclear war, but from 24 rabbits. In 1859, in the state of Victoria, a landowner named Thomas Austin, out of sheer boredom, released several dozen European rabbits into the wild simply for hunting. But Thomas could not have known that he had just planted a seed in Australian soil that would spread faster than many invading armies in history. On a continent with almost no native predators, rabbits multiplied at a terrifying rate. Each pair can produce up to 20 to 30 offspring per year, and within just a few decades they had spread across Australia at nearly 100 kilometers per year. They may look small and harmless, but they are true ecological destruction machines. With teeth that grow throughout their lives and a dense network of burrows, rabbits gnaw young plants down to the ground, cause soil to collapse, and destroy entire fertile grasslands. In just a few years, they can turn lush green land into cracked, degraded wasteland, becoming one of the most costly biological disasters in Australia's history. Faced with the explosive breeding rate of wild rabbits, the first and also the harshest measure was poison. Specialized rabbit poisons such as 1080 or pindone were mixed into bait and scattered along invasion routes. Even more painstakingly, people tracked the rabbits all the way back to their burrows and placed poisoned bait right at the entrances. And with their greedy nature, the rabbits could hardly resist such a tempting trap. When rabbit numbers began to decline, the war did not end. It moved entirely underground. The maze-like burrows, sometimes several meters deep, continued to quietly nurture the next generation, making every effort on the surface insufficient. So plows and excavators were brought in to tear apart their hidden shelter structures and flatten the entire surface. For burrows that were still active, controlled smoke was pumped directly underground, forcing every escape route to close and driving the rabbits out of their final refuge. Alongside poison and traps, another method was also widely used and extremely effective, using the rabbit's natural predators combined with organized hunting. The first candidate chosen by Australians was the ferret, a predator that is naturally feared by rabbits. Before the hunt begins, every escape route is sealed off with large nets, creating a carefully calculated ambush before the living weapon is released into the burrows of these pests. As soon as it enters the underground tunnels, the ferret immediately disrupts the maze with its fierce hunting instincts, slipping through every corner and driving the rabbits into extreme panic. Trapped in a confined space, they have no choice but to rush back to the surface, run straight into the nets already set up, and are immediately restrained before they can find a way to escape. But the battle against this cunning invasive species becomes many times more effective with the help of skilled hunting dogs such as beagles, Jack Russell Terriers, greyhounds, and whippets. With an extremely sharp sense of smell and speeds that can exceed 70 kilometers per hour, they are positioned at the final line of defense, ready to lock down any rabbit that slips through the nets. Finally, one cannot ignore the most direct and decisive method of rabbit control: shooting. When night falls, the time when rabbits leave their burrows to feed, skilled marksmen begin scanning the fields with powerful spotlights or thermal scopes, quickly locking onto targets in the darkness. The moment a flash of reflection appears in their eyes, the shot is fired. During sweeps that last for many hours, hundreds of rabbits can be taken down in a single night. By day, the hunt shifts to precise ambushes. Shooters hide among the bushes, patiently waiting for the rabbits to emerge from their burrows to feed, then fire in an instant, bringing them down before they can retreat back into the safety of their tunnels. When people mention the animal that represents Australia, they immediately think of the kangaroo. But even in its own homeland, not everyone loves this symbol. With more than 50 million kangaroos in the wild, nearly twice the population of Australia, they quietly graze down vast livestock pastures every day, directly competing for food with millions of farm animals and becoming a real survival rival for farmers. An adult kangaroo can grow up to 2 meters tall, possess strength comparable to that of a heavyweight fighter, and consume up to 3 to 4 kilograms of grass every day. When that number is multiplied by tens of millions, the pressure on the ecosystem immediately becomes a brutal war of attrition. During drought seasons, when grass withers and water sources gradually dry up, kangaroos often flood into farms, damage fences, take over water troughs, and leave cattle and sheep without the already scarce resources they need to survive. And it does not stop there. On rural roads stretching across Australia, herds of kangaroos often suddenly leap across the road in the darkness of night. Every year they contribute to more than 20,000 traffic collisions, causing hundreds of millions of Australian dollars in insurance losses, not to mention injuries and deaths among drivers. More dangerously, when cornered or protecting their young, kangaroos can instantly stand upright. Nearly 2 meters tall, use their tail as a support, and deliver an extremely powerful kick with their hind legs, strong enough to cause severe injuries, break ribs, and even bring down hunting dogs within seconds. Yet what worries the Australian authorities most is not their strength, but their almost explosively programmed ability to reproduce. While male kangaroos are highly aggressive and always ready to mate, female kangaroos also possess embryonic diapause, the ability to pause the development of an embryo in the uterus until living conditions become favorable. As a result, the population can recover at a staggering speed within just a few months, making every control effort extremely fragile. Australia cannot eliminate kangaroos because they are a national symbol that appears directly on the country's coat of arms. But it also cannot simply ignore them, because when their numbers exceed controllable limits, the damage to agriculture and the environment becomes impossible to overlook. That is why, every year, the government applies strict control quotas, allowing licensed hunters to carry out harvesting under humane standards. When night falls over the vast grasslands, the hunts begin. Adult kangaroos are handled quickly, before the meat is transported directly to modern processing plants for export or domestic consumption. In Australia, it is not uncommon to see young kangaroos still lying inside their mother's pouch, even after the mother has died in a collision with a vehicle. And although kangaroos are considered destructive in many areas, many rescue organizations still take in these orphan joeys, raise and rehabilitate them, and release them back into the wild once they are able to survive on their own. If kangaroos create pressure with muscle, parrots turn entire neighborhoods upside down with intelligence. Every year in Australia, they cause more than 10 million USD in damage to crops and infrastructure, turning a seemingly gentle bird into one of the country's top urban demolition crews. What is worth noting is that, unlike parrot flocks in London or the United States, which were formed from pet birds that escaped into the wild, parrots in Australia are long-standing native residents of the continent itself. And it is precisely that environmental familiarity that gives them the ability to turn broad daylight into a full-scale demolition site. Living in flocks of hundreds, cockatoos do not just appear, they descend like a flying green wave. Within just a few minutes, an entire cornfield, apricot orchard, or almond grove can be left patchy and damaged. They strip bark from trees to build nests, and even tear into cacti to get water during the harsh dry season. But what truly makes many residential areas surrender is their sound. A large flock of cockatoos can produce noise of around 120 decibels, equivalent to a concrete drill and nearly 4 times louder than normal human conversation. When hundreds of them gather on rooftops and power lines, they do not just gnaw wood and peel away electrical insulation. They have also caused local power outages in many rural parts of Australia. Even worse, when hundreds of birds defecate all at once on car roofs, the acid in their droppings quickly corrodes the paint, turning an intact vehicle into an expensive piece of damage after just one night. And that is still not the most remarkable part. Cockatoos do not just destroy, they learn how to destroy and then pass it on to the whole flock. Once a single bird learns how to open a trash bin lid, that skill can spread across dozens of neighborhoods within just a few years, turning quiet streets into repeated trash parties every morning. Australians acted immediately in this battle. From reinforcing trash bin lids with rubber straps, water bottles, and metal locks, to even changing where they park their cars, residents have tried every possible way to stop cockatoos. However, because cockatoos are native animals protected by law, Australian authorities do not apply strong control measures like those used against rabbits, or population management methods like those used for kangaroos. So, from local governments to ordinary residents, the most practical solution today is still to scare them away, adapt, and learn to live with a bird that understands the city better with each passing day. Each year, global bell pepper production exceeds 38 million tons, with China, Mexico, Turkey, and the United States being the largest producers. As one of the most delicate vegetables in the world, hand harvesting remains the dominant method in many traditional growing regions. Farmers pick each ripe pepper by hand, cutting the stem with scissors or small knives to avoid tearing the skin or breaking the branches. Standard quality peppers are typically red, yellow, or deep green, with smooth, glossy, unblemished surfaces. However, at large-scale farms in Spain, the United States, and the Netherlands, mechanical harvesting technology is being increasingly adopted. Bell pepper harvesters use soft conveyors and vibrating mechanisms to detach the fruit, helping reduce manual labor and double productivity compared to hand picking. Color and size sensors are integrated directly into the harvesting line, allowing preliminary sorting to take place immediately in the field. A further advancement is robotic harvesting in automated greenhouses, currently being tested in Japan and the Netherlands. Robotic arms equipped with AI cameras and 3D sensors can detect the color, ripeness, and position of each pepper, then cut and gently place it into collection trays. Economically, the global bell pepper production and trade industry is valued at more than $60 billion USD annually. 60 billion USD. 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 In fact, demand for bell peppers continues to grow steadily by 3 to 4% each year, driven by healthy eating trends and the need for year-round vegetable supply in temperate countries. Now, let's explore the papaya harvesting process on a global scale, one of the most widely consumed tropical fruits in the world. Today, global papaya production exceeds 17 million tons per year, with India remaining the leading producer at around 6 million tons, followed by Brazil, Indonesia, Nigeria, and Mexico. Papayas are generally harvested year-round, with peak seasons falling between March and September, depending on the region. The ideal time to harvest is when the skin begins to turn from green to pale yellow, the surface appears glossy, and the fruit releases a subtle fragrance. Harvesters use small knives or gently twist the stem by hand to detach the fruit, placing it carefully into padded baskets to avoid scratches or bruising. For a fruit that ripens quickly and bruises easily like papaya, gentle handling and same-day transport are crucial to maintaining export quality. Thanks to its high yield and continuous harvesting cycle, papaya generates billions of dollars in economic value annually, not only as a fresh fruit, but also through processed products such as juice, jam, and pop-in enzyme, a key ingredient in the global food and pharmaceutical industries. Indonesia is currently the world's largest pineapple producer, with an annual output of about 3.2 million tons. The main growing regions are Lampung and South Sumatra, where the humid tropical climate and fertile red basaltic soil provide ideal conditions for pineapple cultivation. During harvest season, farmers skillfully cut the fruit close to the base with sharp knives, leaving a short stem to minimize moisture loss. Manual harvesting allows farmers to select fruit at perfect ripeness, preserving the golden hue and preventing bruised eyes, a crucial factor for whole fruit export standards. Properly harvested pineapples retain their sweetness, crisp texture, and signature aroma throughout long-distance transport, reinforcing Indonesia's position as one of the world's leading pineapple exporters. Indonesia's pineapple industry is not only massive in scale, but also vital to the national economy. Export revenues from fresh and processed pineapples exceed $2 billion each year, fueled by strong demand from the European Union, Japan, China, and the United States. Canned pineapples and juice account for a significant share of export value, driven by the global appetite for tropical products. They say the world is divided into two teams, those who love pineapple on pizza and those who would never allow it near a slice. So which side are you on? From the Yunnan valleys of China to the fertile plains of central Chile and across Eastern Europe, millions of plum trees are heavy with ripening fruit. In 2025 alone, global plum production is projected to exceed 12 million tons, serving both domestic markets and international demand for fresh and dried plums. Between June and August each year is the most suitable time for harvesting, when the fruit reaches optimal ripeness and its highest sugar content. Farmers usually harvest early in the morning to preserve freshness, picking by hand or using specialized tools to minimize scratches and bruising. China currently dominates the global plum market, with an output of about 6.75 million tons, accounting for more than 54% of the world's total production. Premium varieties such as Black Amber and Friar are in high demand in Japan, South Korea, and European countries, selling at retail prices 2 to 3 times higher than domestic plums, ranging from USD 2,000 to 3,500 per ton, depending on the season and quality. With its distinctive fragrance, widely appreciated, but its soft texture, high susceptibility to bruising, and short ripening period, peaches are considered one of the most temperamental fruits in the world. The peach harvest season usually takes place from May to September, depending on the region and variety. Farmers typically harvest entirely by hand, selecting fruits that have just reached commercial ripeness. When the skin turns yellow-orange, emits a light fragrance, and still retains enough firmness to withstand transportation. Each fruit is picked with a gentle twisting motion and placed into padded trays to prevent scratching. Each year, global peach production reaches about 25 million tons, with China, Spain, Italy, the United States, and Greece being the largest producers. Due to the sensitivity of peaches, full mechanization remains a major challenge, especially as appearance and color standards in exports become increasingly strict. Consumption continues to rise in Asian and European markets, particularly in the premium fruit segment, where peaches are regarded as a symbol of summer and freshness. Each year, global banana production exceeds 125 million tons, 5 times that of peaches and 10 times that of plums, making bananas the most consumed fruit on the planet. India, China, the Philippines, Brazil, and Ecuador are the largest producers, with India leading at more than 35 million tons per year, mainly for domestic consumption. In traditional growing regions such as Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra or Los Rios, banana harvesting is still done manually. The work is usually carried out by 2 people. One uses a sharp knife to cut the bunch at the base, while the other supports it from below to prevent bruising. Each bunch can weigh 25 to 30 kilograms, trimmed, sorted on site, and then transported to the processing station. At large-scale farms in Latin America and Southeast Asia, overhead conveyor systems, cable transport, and automated post-harvest handling technologies are widely applied, helping to reduce labor costs and mechanical losses. According to the FAO, more than 400 million people around the world currently depend directly on bananas as a source of income or staple food, turning this humble fruit into a vital livelihood link for hundreds of millions of farming families globally. Instead of being discarded as before, most of this biomass is now efficiently reused in a circular agricultural system. Today, thanks to mechanization, banana stem shredders can process tons of material per hour, turning it into green manure or bioorganic fertilizer, helping to improve soil structure and reduce up to 30% of chemical fertilizer use for the next crop. In India and the Philippines, banana fiber recycling projects have helped reduce more than 200,000 tons of agricultural waste each year, while contributing to carbon emission reduction and promoting sustainable farming models worldwide. Because spraying pesticides by hand takes too much time, we now continue our journey with a high-capacity mist sprayer used in large-scale agriculture. Suitable for many types of crops such as rice, corn, and fruit trees. This device uses a high-pressure jet fan system to disperse pesticide or foliar fertilizer solutions at a flow rate of up to 375 liters per minute, spraying up to 300 meters in just a few minutes. This type of machine is now widely used in large-scale farming areas in South Korea, Japan, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. How do you view this approach to modern agriculture?